Today in this masterclass, I'm going to talk to you about my buildings, how I approach professional practice, how I apply sustainability, and it'll help you as to approach, understand how to apply things, architecture's impact on humanity. I want to talk to you about what is the strongest point of order. For example, this open hand in Chandigarh. I belong to Chandigarh. I practice here. The firm is almost half a century old. My father, at the age of 90, is still working. He worked with Le Corbusier, one of the very few people still alive of that era. Anything which signifies a signature by which the humanity can be remembered, it is done through architecture. The small little open hand, which became an emblem of Chandigarh, which became an emblem of a city, which became a symbol of ushering the nation into modern architecture by then Prime Minister Nehru, is recognized world over. It's like that McDonald's M, you can recognize it anywhere in the world, and this is how it is. So this open hand it signifies so many things. Modern architecture is as important because modernism is here to stay. It doesn't change the characteristics. It doesn't change its effectiveness, and it just what it changes is the time factor. So it was modern architecture in 1960s, 70s, 80s. It's modern architecture now. You can re symbolize it. Zaha Hadid is deconstructivism, fine, but it's an offshoot of modern architecture. So modern architecture, it doesn't mean only concrete and blocks and cubes, which normally students have this conception, and they keep asking me, sir, how this it is. Just means that you are looking at things, creating architecture which is meaningful. We leave away what is not required, and we are making everything for the human comfort. That is important. 60 years, and when these foreigners came to Chandigarh, Le Corbusier and Pierre Jeanneret, his cousin, I hope you all know the story of Chandigarh. Why I'm trying to touch Chandigarh is because that's where the modern architecture started. All the first generation architect friends, very important for you to understand. Mr. Korea, Mr. Doshi, Mr. Anantaraje, uh, Mr. Sharma, or all those people of the generation were affected by modernism because of one great Chandigarh. Some or the other, they were influenced, or they worked directly, indirectly. So it revived civic architecture in India. What Chandigarh? What modern architecture in India? Friends, I speak this sentence again and again, and I don't know if there are students here who must have heard me before, but I always tell them that we are very fortunate. We in India are very fortunate because we have amongst us all the modern masters who worked in India. For example, we had, of course, Corbusier, we had Louis Kahn, we had Otto Koensberger, who made Bhubaneswar, Lutyens. All these people of that era who mean something worked on the soil of India. So we are very fortunate. If you see, I mean, if you just have a travel, if you go around all to these places, we learn so much. We don't need books. Architecture is not in the books, friends. Simply in two things. A, when you travel, you visit the buildings. B, when you talk to people. When you're talking to somebody, you are like reading his book. So this particular context is that we were influenced, and they visited all these villages in and around Chandigarh. And that's how they produced all these elements into their, as I said, that father worked for Corbusier. So this is the picture on the left-hand side. That's me and my dad. I mean, why that picture is significant? Because we were awarded on the same platform in different categories. It means so much when you are at the same pedestal a little bit as your father. It's very difficult, friends. A lot of people tell me you got things on a platter. It's not. When you are continuing a legacy, you're working 10 times harder. This is what I write in my books. If somebody of you have read my Architecture Life and Me, you understand all this. All architecture is a beautiful journey. Every building is a journey. Every building is a process. When we give presentations, we talk about the journey, how you arrived, what happened, what are the skills you used, what are the things which you used and did not use. The two very important things. You have to know what to do and what not to do. So if you know them both, you will be successful in any field of life, not just architecture. These are the people who worked with Corbusier, four foreigners. Imagine people were saying that, how can foreigners make on Indian soil? I'm trying to just tell you and inspire you that architecture is all about understanding. It's all about climatology. It's all about contextual. You see, any good building, visit any good building of Mr. Doshi, any master, Mr. Korea, and Wright, Drew, anybody in the world, the meaning of that architecture remains. Context is the same. Values remain the same. What changes is the look of it. This is what the oldest building, the first building in Chandigarh, where Corbusier and his team sat. Father, they worked in this. This is the Le Corbusier Museum now. When you come next time, you must visit it. Some of the fine moments in the history of Chandigarh. John Ray, when he died, he says, "I want my ashes to be purged in the Supna Lake." That's on the left hand side, his cousin bringing those ashes. That was the kind of uh, attachment they had. Why I'm talking about it? Talking about anything in architecture without understanding them does not mean anything. I can simply show you my project. I can say this is what I did. It makes no sense. I need to tell you the context under which any architect is trained. How do you bring architecture into life? Because every building is a living entity. Remember this living entity, and you're making walls, you're making a roof for people to live in. It's a sculpture, fine. It's a sculpture where people are alive. So be careful, be conscious when you create marvels like this. See below, 300 feet long elevation of a secretariat. I was just wondering if I was to do today, I would try to do so many things. What we talk about breaking the monotony and all that stuff we do in college. No, he didn't do it. Just one straight block. He just in the center there is some undulations where the chief minister will come out or talk. So he's played the elevation like this. Otherwise, it's at the center which you see. Otherwise, it's just one single building. Look at this on the right. The way they have used the rainwater spout as a porch. Amazing, amazing stuff these people can do. Some other things which Corbusier and his team did, breakers, undulatory glazing. I hope you people have read in your classes. If not, look around. These things are never taught or imbibe architecture. When you see these pictures, the way they have manipulated the elevations, lures, the system to break the sun, in working in North India is far more difficult for an architect because you are countering four extreme climates, extreme winter, extreme summer, monsoon. So architecture must take care of all those four things. Rather difficult. It's more easier to work in Europe. We always say that architecture is frozen poetry. It took me 10 years to realize it is. It took me a decade to understand that it's music, it's painting. All these pictures what you're seeing are composed paintings. They're actual original colors in the assembly building. That's Mr. Doshi. He used to visit Chandigarh every year. And he used to learn. He says, I'm learning architecture. Sangeet. He's trying to show you some raw, concrete finish. No paints, no Hunter Douglas claddings, no tiles. Raw concrete. That's the spirit. That's the humility where a building wants to present itself. Natural, glorious, monumental, but beautiful spaces to be in. On the left, on the extreme left, is what my father learned from Corbusier. Then he made this building, then I made this building. Styles are not to be used. What is to be used are the values. What is to be used are the technology, identification, sensibility. I would not like to use those parasol which Corbusier used 50 years ago. I may not like to use this pure brick cladding building which he used 40 years ago. They use stone cladding which he did in Coimbatore. It's an award-winning project of mine for PSG. But what I'm trying to say is that there's a continuity of a legacy. There's a continuity of the understanding and spirit of architecture. Extreme left, the Secretariat, then my father made the City Museum, and I made this IT building. So the louvers are the same, continuity is the same, visuals can vary. Visuals are personal. Architecture is personal art. No two people can paint the same painting. And that's the reason that most of the partnerships have their own projects, and no two people can do one architect. This is my Mega Boys hostel in Jalandhar, which I did. Just trying to show you the legacy and continuity. It's a capital complex, new PGI building. So father did, and this is a my very famous Microsoft building as an IT park in Jalandhar. Let me talk to you about how you people, how students are confused about sustainability, confused about, for example, sustainability is something which you always profess, and you always will say that my building is sustainable without really actually understanding. Let there be a bit of proof. Let there be a bit of calculation or a bit of contextual understanding that this because this. I coined this word eco-aesthetics. So when you are just seeing your design and you ask yourself, is your design economical, conscious, optimum? You get to know what was unnecessary, you eliminate it. You get to know, is it something unaffordable? Eliminate it. What remains is the essence of design, and that is sustainable. How can people confuse or make such uh, hullabaloo of things that it's difficult for you people to understand, for me to understand, and talk in such a way that something which is God sent. Simply use this formula, eco space, at the bare minimum of architecture. Anything which is bare minimum, anything which is understandable, anything which is reasonable, unexpensive, comfortable, beautiful to look at, usable, meant for human occupation, is sustainable. Let me take you about 60 years ago when John Ray and my father they worked on this CSIU guest house. You'll see how things are so bare. We talk of natural, local materials now. We were using local materials then. It's strange how we begin to adopt things when we are told in a different way. We were doing it. For that matter, we were doing it for ages. Important institutes in Chandigarh, microbiotechnology, IMTech it's called. I was training at the time with my father when this was built. It's about 22, 23 years ago, and still as fresh. Services, so much we learned. See under the corridor, on your right hand side, this picture, there are all services going under the corridor. Corridors become the takers and movers of services. And see how meticulously they are arranged. Small things matter, small details matter. But this is again an institute in JNU in Delhi, an IPGR, Plant Engineering Research. It's amazing to see curvilinear form in plan which can be used as laboratories. When we first started, again, I was as only as an associate architect, and how I learned to manage the services, manage the complexities of cross ventilation, form development, using art in architecture. This sculpture is by Jatin Das, finest sculptors and artists. Yeah. So, there's a process. Look at these images, friends. It's a government building. My client has a lot of money. I can put granite, I can put shiny stuff. golden glass. No, it's a government building. You're answerable. But still, my imagination remains. If it's a fire, I don't need too many columns. If it's an assembly hall, my structure system says that I don't need. I want to make up spaces which are unobstructed. It's so good. I can't let my imagination as an architect run dry at any cost. Look at this building. This is a pediatric center in PGI Chandigarh. Look at this cantilever detail. First the cantilever and then the detail. Marvelous. The way these ducts are given, the way the services are taken horizontal, vertical, they're also important. Sitting anywhere, architecture can be done. That's the beauty of your profession. We are in Chandigarh. I made these log huts in the Himalayas, free resorts, and in this institute in Palampur, in Himachal. So I'm using the context. I'm using the climatology as a resource, as a guiding force for me to. This is the bamboo museum designed for bamboo by bamboo in Palampur. Amazing technology we used in binding of the bamboos. One of my IT buildings, which so I'm talking about the culmination when I 10 years, 10, 12 years of hard practice, of hard understanding, learning, getting bashed up enough, and trying to understand. Then did my individual projects. This is the Microsoft building in Chandigarh. This is a kind of frontal image art forms. So you can see my sketches on the right, which is the development is very important, and all these structural systems become planters. This is what we learned with all the beams. We don't hide things. So they're becoming an important element of design. The whole of the building is supported by these four Y columns at the ends so that my space inside is columnless because that's the purpose of the building. And this corner details are pretty nice, very satisfying design of mine. And this is the Mondrian, very inspired about the colors. You see my sketch on the left. I feel develop it through a sketch, color it. First do a painting, then come to architecture. You are supposed to like what you have considered. You're supposed to, you know, kind of fall in love with something which you are trying to produce. So your mind will tell you, use the colors. This is how it is done. Then come to the plans. These are my personal fundamental laws of architecture which I teach. And it's helped me. It might help you. So the forms, the basic forms which I've used is the mess building. That's okay. I mean, you are assembling the requirements. That's okay. I'm taking you through in this masterclass how to approach your design, how to bring out from your mind onto the paper with the dexterity of your hands, sketches, colors, painting, then architecture. You could see because I had done this painting. That's how I'm using this color and that color onto the vertical charts. So this when in a 2D there's a painting, you get a painting in a 3D also. That's the beauty of, and art of the whole thing. I know where to leave the bricks as natural bricks, where to use this color and open air theater on the top, and materials begin to play as color. Spaces open up. Right, the sketches which then translate themselves into third dimension. Friends, I'm still using lures because I need to cut the harsh heat. This is in Jalandhar, extreme, but doesn't spoil my creativity. I'm using a lot of stuff to give me a good calligraphy. I'm using them part analogy. You see this painting, how to grab the opportunity. Every project which you, every design which you will, is an opportunity. Grab it and use it. I've only selected a few projects for you today. This is my very popular building as in Coimbatore. It's a engineering college which won as a exemplary award in Griha in 2018. We study climate. All of us do. All of us must do. The idea is sometimes a lot of students who come to me and when we are judging their entries, they get very much caught into the climate stuff, and If this wall doesn't need a feature or an opening, so it's all very bland. Try to use your imagination. That elevation, that side may be inappropriate, but you can still create some psychographical effects. Like this, you're seeing it's a very simple building, but there is a lot of play of light and shadows on the surfaces. For example, this the connecting corridors and the sketch which is there, the different colors and big courtyard. Everything is elementary. It's the same. How you apply is your individual understanding. Use water bodies at the entrance foyers. Use these free flowing links so that large open spaces, because Coimbatore has a lot of free breeze. Right? I wanted them. What we talk of sustainability, guys, you're looking at this. There's a space in between the blocks for the air to breathe, and see these spaces. Double height columns. Visually, it's good. Technically, it's good. Climatologically, it's good. Otherwise, if you see the elevation, it's just a frame. Blocking within blocking. That is the catch. Blocking within blocking. And this is the award. Anyway, uh, one of my buildings in Jammu University. Again, the directive is that it's an examination building, so there's privacy. It's not air conditioned. So I'm using my technology. I'm using my ideology, the structural systems, color combinations, using bright colors inside because it's an examination center. Students will already be very stressed. So why not create some dynamics between the light and colors, using some dark colors on the sides and then the pinpoints. Details are good. We like to sort of move inside. You must have seen this project. It's highly published. It's an auditorium in Poland. Again, it blends. It merges into the forest, into hills. It's not something which is an eyesore, which its context isn't where you're building. You may be a modernist. No, it doesn't matter. See, this is modern architecture. A lot of students confuse. You're a modernist. How could you make this? The forest doesn't demand concrete structure. There is an appropriate solution to architecture. Not what I like. It's not something made for me. It's something which is made for the context, for the place which you're building in. And that is so I take references from the hill architecture. I don't make something absurd, something that people can laugh at. But my ability to create the spaces inside my ability to create life, psychography, science. I'm playing with the sun. And see the images. And see the images. Sustainability. Like, for example, there was a 10,000 year old relics of an elephant. So they were not supposed to have the direct sunlight. So I make people enter here into the corridor. They go here, come inside the element here, and then they. But then this is a museum of natural sciences, and the structure again complements the design. You are making natural history museum. So this is the bird's eye, which developed consciously or subconsciously. I don't know. When you keep thinking about your solution, your subconscious tells you the solution. So it's a flying bird. This is the shaft uh, skylight for the natural ventilation, natural light. Don't miss these sketches, friends. The KMG towers. Again, just look at the sketch and the implementation. You don't need to speak much about these things. And I am only trying to tell you the process, how I want to cut the light, natural ventilation. Even if the client was very rich, he could afford to do total air conditioning. It's an air conditioning building, but then we had openings so that people they can breathe sometimes if they don't want to, be in the air conditioned environment. It creates a lot of beautiful elevation for me. And this is the kind of painting which I take up. One of the very uh, highly published world project is Amex Factory. But you derive at an elevation. Well, it will take time for you. It will take some time for you to understand this. Projections is something, and derivations is something. So you derive an elevation. What are the time factors? All of the elevation are this hours on a daily basis. The mean in the center is where you have the porch. There's a logical solution to the elevations also, not just a plan. There's something we get into the entrance. There's nice, bright collages. Actually, all right. But then people live here. 2,000 workers here. See this? You appreciate this elevation, friends. The proportion of this is something very unique. Catches the eye. Everything beautiful, worthy catches the eye. That's the best of architecture. We're using natural stones, natural bricks. Sorry. The whole plan of this hostel, which I designed, is as per the sun path, straight line, and the curved balcony, and the curved scigraphy. straight side of a triangle. It's all geometric. It's also to me it's beautiful, and to the people who saw this, and they say so everything good generally will be good. So the plan is supported in such a way that it is aligned with the sun path. Central courts, which have got cross ventilations, usual, same, nothing extraordinary. It's just that you are applying sensibly. Watch it, guys, sensibly, getting your aesthetics right. That's where you lose sensibly, contextually, sustainability, etc., etc. But if you lose the sense of your aesthetics, that's the difference between an engineer and an architect. Watch it. At the end of the day, your building must look. There is no other way. There is no concession at all. Whatever words you may use, whatever logic you may use, whatever high flown fundamentals you may try to explain, anybody, end of the day, architecture is about a beautiful building. Skylights, openings, details, natural stones, structure systems, they all blend. Everything blends. There's so many features in architecture. There are so many elements in architecture. You're only playing with them. You are amalgamating them, getting them right. It's like a jigsaw puzzle. Get every damn thing in order, and you get some nice stuff. Everybody tries. Nobody's perfect. Le Corbusier did mistakes at the age of 80. It's perfectly fine. It's okay. None of us are genius. We aspire to be one. At least be truthful to yourself. This is what you want to do. You could not achieve. Get it right. It's okay. Get it right. See this? Systems are not hidden. There's big skylight. There are people going to, the students going to be here. So give them light. Give them a lot of light. You don't need to on artificial lights when we have skylights like this. That's the beauty of what you call. What else is sustainable? This is sustainable. I don't want to tell you, I don't want to give you 5 sentences. Guys, please mug up these sentences and repeat it to your teachers or the jury members. Foolish. Light is sustainable. Greenery is sustainable. And management of the structure is sustainable. Materials is sustainability. They all are my books. Just a slide. Just normal slide. Always read. And family continues. And thank you so much for your time. Thank you so much for your valuable watching. And I'm there for you as a mentor. Ask me anything, all for you. Thank you very much.